in the wide-open frontier of the American West. Two names carved themselves into legend: Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They were more than just outlaws. They were symbols of rebellion, brotherhood, and a time when the lines between right and wrong blurred beneath the blazing desert sun. This is not just the story of their robberies. This is the true story of two men who ran not just from the law, but from a world they no longer recognized. Butch Cassidy was born Robert Leroy Parker in 1866 in Beaver, Utah. He was the eldest of 13 children in a Mormon family that struggled to make ends meet. As a boy, Robert worked on ranches and was known for his honesty and hard work. But the West was changing fast. Big cattle companies and railroads were pushing out small ranchers. Justice was often bought, and power lay in the hands of the wealthy. Robert watched as good men were crushed under unfair laws and greed. Somewhere along the way, he made a choice. If the system was rigged, he wouldn't play by its rules. He took the name Butch Cassidy after working for a butcher, and in tribute to Mike Cassidy, a rustler he admired. The name stuck, and so did his new path. Butch wasn't a killer. He hated violence. His gang, the Wild Bunch, became infamous, not just for their daring heists, but for how cleanly they pulled them off. They robbed banks and trains, but they tried to do it without bloodshed. To Butch, crime wasn't about cruelty. It was about striking back at the rich men who ran everything. It was about freedom. Then came the Sundance Kid. His real name was Harry Longabaugh. Born in Pennsylvania in 1867, he drifted west as a teenager. He spent time in jail for horse theft, where he picked up the nickname Sundance from the town in Wyoming where he was arrested. Sundance was a crack shot, fast with a pistol and calm under pressure. If Butch was the brains, Sundance was the steel. Together, they made a perfect team. By the late 1890s. The Wild Bunch was the most feared gang in the West. They pulled off a series of robberies so smooth and coordinated that Pinkerton detectives were left chasing dust. Their most famous heist came in 1899 when they robbed the Union Pacific Overland Flyer in Wyoming. They used dynamite to blow open the safe and disappeared into the hills before lawmen could get close. America was changing, and the Wild Bunch became folk heroes to some, villains to others. Newspapers couldn't get enough of them. Children played games pretending to be Butch and Sundance. Outlaws had become celebrities. But time was catching up. The railroads, the banks, the law, they were getting smarter, more organized. The Pinkertons put more pressure on local sheriffs, offered bigger rewards, and tracked every whisper. Butch knew it couldn't last. The world was closing in. In 1901. Butch and Sundance fled the country with Sundance's partner, Etta Place. They sailed to Argentina, hoping to start fresh. For a while, it worked. They bought land, ranched, tried to live honest lives. But their past followed them. When banks near their ranch were robbed, suspicion fell on them. Whether they did it or not, the heat returned. They sold their land and moved again. Bolivia was their last refuge. The end came in 1908 in a dusty Bolivian town called San Vicente. Two bandits, believed to be Butch and Sundance, robbed a payroll and were cornered in a small house by Bolivian soldiers. No one knows exactly what happened. Some say they were shot in the gunfight. Others say Butch ended Sundance's suffering and then took his own life. The truth is lost to time, but the legend lived on. Butch Cassidy was more than a bandit. He was a man who stood against a system he felt was broken. He laughed often, treated people kindly, and avoided killing if he could help it. Sundance was loyal, quiet, deadly when needed, but not cruel. Together through a fading west one, last flash of wild freedom before civilization tamed the land. Asterisk. Their story reminds us that history isn't always black and white. Sometimes the heroes are outlaws. And sometimes the outlaws are just men trying to outrun a world that no longer has a place for them. Asterisk in the end. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid didn't die in a blaze of glory because they wanted to. They died because the world changed. But their story didn't end in Bolivia. It became legend. It crossed borders. It became a part of the myth of the West. And as long as people tell stories about freedom, rebellion, and loyalty, the names Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid will never be forgotten. Asterisk.